Optimizing native advertising campaigns on traffic sources like Taboola and Outbrain is hard, especially in the beginning and especially if you're familiar with other traffic sources like Facebook and Google. Why? Because usually all the other big major traffic sources, they have very smart algorithms, so they do the work for you. Unfortunately, on native advertising traffic sources, you have to do the work almost manually. In this video, we will talk exactly about this, how you optimize a campaign in an account which is completely created from scratch. Hi everyone, my name is Marcel Sattler. I'm the founder of Purple Black, a native advertising only agency. What we're doing on a daily basis is we run profitable performance marketing campaigns on native advertising traffic sources like Taboola, Outbrain, Yahoo Gemini, and many more. And I know, especially in the beginning, it's very hard to get a native advertising account to run and to make your first profits, because there are a few things which might people let you struggle. That's, for example, the missing data. So also for native ads, you have to create data. You have to create data points, touch points. You need to feed the pixel. And I have a fly here inside, I hate it. So you need to feed the pixel. That's the first thing. Another thing is that you don't have a very smart algorithm, so you have to do a lot of things manually. And it might be a little bit overwhelming, complex, because you have to do it for every campaign by yourself. And if you have multiple campaigns, which is, by the way, a very easy and highly recommended thing, you have, for example, one product but different approaches, then you have different kinds of campaigns, like a campaign for mobile and tablet devices, like one campaign for desktop. Then you might have two different countries like Canada and US. Then you have already 4 campaigns without doing anything. You have to optimize each campaign by themselves. And in this video, we will dig deep into it. How you optimize very fast, what's the way there, what things you have to take care about, and we'll give you in this video a quick hands-on guide how you do it in detail. So come with me on my screen and let's see how we do it. All right, so let's dig deep into this topic of optimization with native advertising. Just by the way, a short disclaimer, doesn't matter if you're using Outbrain or Taboola or any other native advertising platform, the strategies which I will present you here are almost the same. Doesn't matter which traffic source you're using. In general, it's always important to see a funnel like we do it here, because on different stages of the funnel, there are different techniques and strategies which you have to use to optimize your native advertising campaigns. What I mean by that is it's very important to understand that as soon as we start with, for example, a new completely from scratch created account with also 0 conversions in it, you don't have any data yet. And with native advertising, you're not able to use a specific targeting. So you're shooting for, in the beginning, for almost everyone. And therefore, it's important to understand that you're not able to usually optimize on the final step, which is the final conversion, which could be a lead or a sale. So you need some steps in between. And that's the first thing, that's the first learning which I would recommend you to take out of this video. So usually on traffic sources like, for example, Google or Facebook, you can optimize for the final conversion. And I know in the very past years, like, I don't know, when I started with Facebook, so something like 12 years ago or 10 years ago, yeah, long time. It was also so that you're not optimizing, at this time I run very small budgets, and you weren't able to optimize directly on the conversion. So you start also to optimize first on the view content, on the add to cart, and same here. And here it's also a bit similar, but also different. Let me explain why. So as mentioned already, imagine we started a completely new account from scratch. We created our first campaigns, and what we do then is we are optimizing the CTRs of the ads. So we have the ads, we have the campaign, and in the campaigns are the ads. In general, by the way, just FYI, if you have a campaign like this here, I would recommend you to have in this campaign 3 images and 3 headlines. That means 9 creatives, 9 ads, because you combine the 3 headlines with the 3 images. And yeah, so first of all, you take a look to the CTR, to the click-through rate. So how many people who sees your ad, how many of them are clicking on the ad? What's the click-through rate? And here there is no general information. I cannot tell you, okay, it's on average, this CTR is a good one, this CTR is a bad one, because it depends on multiple factors. Like, for example, it depends if you are using a whitelist or not. Because on push traffic, you might have a lot of CTR, but usually in this case, it's a bad CTR. You don't want to have it. And sometimes, or in general, it depends on which country you are, in which niche you are, which safety category you are, and of course, which device type you are. Because also if you're in the same country, also if you're in the same niche, also if you're using the same images, headlines, creatives, there are differences in the CTR between desktop and mobile and tablet. So this is just important to understand. If you want to have some average results here, reach out to your Taboola or Outbrain rep, tell them a little bit more about what you're selling, and they will give you some average numbers, some average KPIs, which you should reach. And based on that, you can structure it way better to see if you're overperforming or underperforming. If you're underperforming, you definitely have to do something with your ads. So work on the copy, work on the images. Maybe you're using too stocky images. Maybe you're using too soft headlines. Maybe your headline will promise something else. So the CTR of the ads is the very first important KPI factor, which is extremely significant to optimize here. And it's a huge leveraging effect. As soon as you find the right image in combination with the right headline, you will have a positive booster. So CTR of the ads is the first optimization technique and strategy you can use here. Afterwards, we are moving to the editorials. And in the very beginning, I would recommend you for one campaign to have also multiple editorials. We are usually using 3 editorials, and we split test them in the background. So in this case, every editorial would get 33.33% of the 100% traffic, and we split test them and see what's working better. And by the way, these editorials are not just small changes. These editorials are sometimes an aggressive one, a soft one, or a small one, a short one, a medium one, which have usually 600 to 800 words, and a long one, which have roughly 1,000 words. So these are the things which we test here. And to see in the background, on which editorials do we get better CTRs? And again, a high CTR is always the best. You have to, in general, to check that you have a good CTR on the editorials. But for example, if it's way too pushy and people just click on it because you're making a wrong promise or so, then you don't have any conversion in the background. So it's important to have here a good way, a good balance between a very good editorial where many people are clicking through it and also good conversion rate here. We have here a few average numbers, so a very good editorial have something between 12 to 18% CTR on the long run if you spend higher budgets. So all the things here I tell you, or the CTRs here might be, or the KPIs here might be different. It always depends, of course, on which country you are, how much money you spend, and so on and so forth. But in general, just very roughly, you can take the 12 to 18% as a good baseline for the click-through rate here. If you have more, good for you. If you have just like 2-3%, maybe your editorial sucks. Next step, and by the way, as soon as we see, for example, this editorial is the winning one, we turn off them, of course, and just focusing on one to test less and get the profits faster. Next step is the sites, the sections. So when you start with Taboola or Outbrain, you are starting with a very broad variety of pages and sections. And here I would definitely recommend you to use a whitelist or a block list to run on something like premium publishers, or at least not add push traffic if you want to avoid it. And however, you have to do manual work here. You have to change the sites, turn them off, turn them on. For Outbrain, for example, or on Taboola, boost them, deboost them with different bits. So these are the next steps. You definitely have to do it. It is a very special topic, by the way, for native only, because as mentioned already, your ad will be visible on thousands of sites, and it's extremely important to choose here manually also if you want to deboost it or boost it. And of course, also if you want to get more traffic or just turn it off completely. Because sometimes the publisher is just not a good fit with your product or service. If you sell something for men, it doesn't make sense to run usually on a woman's magazine. But here in general, let the data speak and don't think too much by yourself. Always take data as the baseline. Never think, okay, I don't think that this site will work for this product, because we saw already the weirdest things in the past. So my honest recommendation here is start broad and then narrow it down with the sites and sections. On Outbrain, just turn them off. On Taboola, you can also turn them off, but on Taboola, I would recommend to boost them or deboost them with the different bits. All right, next step of our optimization are the devices. Devices you can split into multiple things. You can divide them by operating system to, for example, on mobile, just run on iOS devices or on Android devices. You can also select the browsers. And here, I know it might sounds very, very picky, very small, but however, there are differences. There are changes. For example, some combinations like Android and Chrome or iOS and Safari as a combination works best. And here it's important to understand the data and of course to to switch off all the things which are unprofitable, which have higher CPAs. So here, devices, browsers, OSs, take a look on them, switch off those ones who are not converting as well as the other ones. Also, another thing is the GEOS. You can, by the way, I would just recommend you to use one campaign for one country and not multiple campaigns for multiple countries. That depends on, because multiple countries have different bids and sometimes you have stronger traffic there and there. So long story short, don't do it and split the campaigns or the countries in different campaigns. And you can also use it for regions, for example. Some regions might working better than other regions. You can switch off the less profitable ones and just focusing on the profitable ones. By the way, these two things here make sense if you have a little bit more budget. So please don't try to optimize here on that level. If you just spend like, I don't know, $100 or $200 for this specific campaign, this makes sense. If you spend a little bit more, like 1-2K, then you should have enough data to analyze it and to use this data as a decision. Then bids, you can play a little bit around with bids, and this is an optional topic. So let me explain you why. In general, you set a bid at Taboola and Outbrain, and this bid might vary because of the algorithms which those platforms have. However, you can test a bit around and play a bit around. For example, lower the bid, see how much reach you will still have, how many auctions you will win, and try to get the bid a bit lower. Long story short, we thought that it's way better to work on things like conversion rates in the or CTRs on the ads and editorials, besides of focusing just on the bids and try to get, save here 2 cents. It's way better to improve the CTR of the editorials instead of fighting here for the last picky cents. And last but not least, you can change or you should test different types of campaigns. Usually all the major native advertising traffic sources have different kinds of campaigns. You usually start with something like a max conversion campaign, which gets as much conversions as possible. But sooner or later, you should switch from collecting data to profitability. And this you usually make with target CPA campaign. A target CPA campaign is something where you say, hey, Outbrain, hey, Taboola, this is my target CPA. I already have data in the background. I know this TCPA is possible. Get me as much conversions as possible for exactly maximal this price. And that's a target CPA campaign. Important here to understand is, of course, that you're giving the algorithm enough space to move. So for example, if your target CPA is $40, don't say 20, because usually, it's not working out. Here it's important that you first have had these kind of values already in the past, so it's technically possible. For example, if you have had always $50 as CPA and you type in 10 euros or $10, it would not work. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is you need data for this. So you should start with a max conversion campaign and then afterwards switch to a target CPA campaign. So this is just the optimization of a native advertising campaign in a nutshell if you start with a completely new account from scratch. I hope you liked this video and that our guide, our quick tip here will definitely help you to make the first profits with native advertising traffic sources like Taboola and Outbrain. If you like this video, I would extremely appreciate if you give me a thumbs up and of course, if you subscribe to my channel to receive updates when I upload a new video here on YouTube. Have a good one. See you next time.